Well, no one's ever asked me that before. I think we would. Because I think he would have still encouraged me to follow my dreams, because he would have had his dream too. You know, I think, yeah, wow, that's great. Okay, you're turning into Oprah. You're gonna start making me cry.
I don't mean to make this a therapy session.
Yeah, do it. This is good. I like therapy. I need some.
David Copperfield, the world-renowned magician who has dazzled audiences for decades with mind-bending illusions and charming stage presence, now finds himself under the harsh glare of the spotlight for a far more sinister reason. As a series of allegations from multiple women spanning several decades comes to light, the curtain is pulled back on a disturbing pattern of alleged sexual misconduct and abuse. The allegations. David Copperfield finds himself under a dark cloud of suspicion. In recent years, a total of 16 women have come forward with allegations of sexual misconduct and inappropriate behavior against the celebrated illusionist. These accusations, spanning from the late 80s to as recently as 2014, paint a disturbing picture of a man who allegedly used his fame and power to exploit and abuse women, some of whom were just teenagers at the time. The allegations are varied and deeply troubling. 3 women claim the magician drugged them before engaging in sexual activity, leaving them unable to consent. Others allege that Copperfield groped them during his live performances, using his skills as a magician to mask his inappropriate touching. In one particularly disturbing account, a woman who was just 15 years old at the time says Copperfield repeatedly rubbed her breasts while she was on stage assisting with a trick, leaving her feeling trapped and helpless in front of a large audience. The accusations are not limited to physical misconduct. Several women who were teenagers when they first encountered Copperfield claim the magician pursued them aggressively, promising to help with their careers in modeling or entertainment. They describe a pattern of grooming behavior, with Copperfield maintaining contact with them and their parents, sending gifts and inviting them to his shows. One woman, who says she was just 15 when she met Copperfield, alleges that he called her late at night for years, and after she turned 18, they had an affair, which was her first time. As more women come forward with their stories, a picture emerges of a man who allegedly used his position of power and influence to take advantage of young, vulnerable women. The sheer number of accusers and the consistency of their accounts lend credibility to their claims. Copperfield's response. As the avalanche of allegations against David Copperfield gained momentum, the magician and his legal team mounted a vigorous defense, categorically denying any wrongdoing or impropriety on his part. Copperfield, through his attorneys, maintained that he has always been a staunch supporter of the Me Too movement and an advocate for women's rights. Quote, "I've lived with years of news reports about me being accused of fabricated, heinous acts, with few telling the story of the accuser getting arrested and my innocence. Knowing that false accusers can negatively impact the believability of others and are a true disservice to those who have been victims of sexual misconduct, I didn't draw attention to it." In response to the specific claims made by his accusers, Copperfield's lawyers were quick to point out what they characterized as inconsistencies and contradictions in the women's stories. They asserted the magician has been the target of false accusations in the past and suggested that some of the current allegations may be motivated by a desire for financial gain or fame. Copperfield's legal team also sought to undermine the credibility of some of the accusers by highlighting their past interactions with the magician. In one case, they claimed a woman who accused Copperfield of drugging and sexually assaulting her had actually maintained a consensual relationship with him for several years after the alleged incident. They painted a picture of a woman who had repeatedly sought out Copperfield's company and had never previously raised any concerns about his behavior. The magician's defenders also pointed to the lack of criminal charges or formal complaints against Copperfield as evidence of his innocence. They argued that if the allegations were credible, the accusers would have come forward sooner and pursued legal action against the magician. The fact that many of the alleged incidents took place decades ago, they suggested, cast doubt on the reliability of the women's memories and the veracity of their claims. Despite the vehemence of his denials, the sheer number of accusers and the disturbing nature of their allegations continued to cast a long shadow over the magician's career. Legal developments and police reports. With the accumulations of allegations against David Copperfield continuing to mount, the legal and law enforcement communities began to take notice. While many of the alleged incidents had taken place years or even decades earlier, some of the more recent accusations fell within the statute of limitations, opening the door for potential criminal charges and civil lawsuits. One of the most high-profile legal developments in the Copperfield case involved a 2014 incident that was reported to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. A woman named Fallon Thornton alleged that Copperfield had groped her breast during a performance at the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, where the magician had a long-running residency. Thornton filed a police report and an official complaint with the hotel, urging them to investigate the incident and hold Copperfield accountable. The Las Vegas police launched an investigation, obtaining surveillance footage of the performance from the MGM Grand. But after reviewing the evidence and interviewing witnesses, the police released a statement saying, after a review of the case, statements, and surveillance, officers determined there was no merit to the allegation presented. The case was closed, leaving Thornton feeling frustrated and disillusioned with the legal system. Other accusers, however, had more success in pursuing legal action against the magician. In one notable case, a woman named Brittany Lewis filed a civil lawsuit against Copperfield, alleging he had sexually assaulted her in 1988 when she was a young model. Lewis claimed that Copperfield had invited her to a private island in the Bahamas where he drugged and assaulted her. The lawsuit was eventually settled out of court, with the terms of the settlement remaining confidential. As more women came forward with their stories, the pressure on law enforcement to take action against Copperfield continued to grow. Some accusers, like Olivia, a British-Canadian model, who alleged that Copperfield had groped her during a performance in Canada in 1996, filed police reports in their home countries, hoping to spur international authorities into action. However, many of these cases faced significant legal hurdles, including the passage of time and the difficulty of gathering evidence to support the allegations. Despite the challenges, some legal experts believed that the sheer number of accusers and the consistency of their stories could eventually lead to criminal charges against Copperfield. They pointed to the case of Bill Cosby, another beloved entertainer who had faced a barrage of sexual assault allegations spanning decades, as an example of how public pressure and persistent accusers could eventually lead to legal consequences for even the most powerful and famous men. The Jeffrey Epstein connection. Amidst the ongoing controversies surrounding David Copperfield, a new and disturbing dimension to the story emerged: the magician's alleged connection to Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier and convicted sex offender. Epstein, who died by apparent suicide in 2019, while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges, was known for his vast network of wealthy and powerful associates. In 2019, a trove of court documents related to a defamation lawsuit filed by one of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, was unsealed, shedding new light on the scope and scale of Epstein's alleged sex trafficking operation. Among the many high-profile names mentioned in the documents was that of David Copperfield, who was listed as a passenger on Epstein's private jet, dubbed the Lolita Express by the media. Copperfield's lawyers were quick to distance the magician from Epstein, issuing a statement denying any knowledge of or involvement in Epstein's crimes. Now it's time to hear from you. How has your perception of Copperfield changed since these allegations have come to light? Let us know in the comments section below.